Hey traders, welcome to today's ticker analysis. I'm going to take a look at some tickers that I've had some requests for. RXT, this was a request for me to analyze last week, which I did analyze in Discord. I did see it as a good setup with this gap above, and we were getting some bull volume and we were moving into that gap. So, I mean, it looks pretty healthy. We got through some daily resistance, we got into this gap, and then we hit 1559 here, and we just started pulling back a little bit. Now this is just healthy daily consolidation at this point. Zooming into the hourly here, we can see that we started to move up. We hit 1559 double top, and then we're having some hourly consolidation. If this is a swing trade, then you may be willing to hold through this consolidation. Day traders probably would have wanted to sell right at that double top. So it depends on what your goal is for this trade. I don't see any concern right now. It's just some hourly consolidation. I pulled this level 1431 off of the daily time frame. This has been some solid resistance in the past, so now our resistance is going to become our support. So we want to look at this 1431 level to hold, which also aligns up with this SMA 100 here, so I like that area. Let's look for this area to hold. Otherwise, if we were to break this area, then I would be concerned at this ticker actually going back downwards. So that's the area to watch at this point. And now we're going to take a look at Snap. So this ticker, I pulled up this chart, and I had actually had some trend lines drawn on this ticker for a while now. And the last time we bounced off this trend line, we still have not come back to touch this trend line. So that trend line is still accurate. Are we going to come back and test that trend line? Well, right now what I see is we are in a daily EQ. We bounced off 80.85, sorry, we rejected 80.85, which was our all-time high, and we're sort of just going a little bit sideways. This is pretty broad EQ. We might want to tighten this up and look for some better levels. Like that. That's a double top, 77.35, and then over here, 71.51. That is a pretty tight EQ that we can watch. Can watch that EQ and see if we are going to bounce off the bottom of this EQ and then perhaps go back up and test the top. So this is an area that you can watch. I will say that we have a gap right here that we may come back down to fill eventually. So if you are holding this, you might want to keep an eye on that gap. If we were to break this EQ, we may come back and test this EQ, or sorry, fill this gap, because using the fibs from our last big move, which was a 35% move, we still haven't come back and retraced off this big move. Plus I'm seeing something that looks like Head and Shoulders could be here. So I would just watch this EQ and worry about filling this gap, and that would bring us to this fibs level, 63.32. So if you're in this position, you probably don't want to take that much of a loss. So I would watch the top area here, watch this range, make sure we're staying within this range. If we break through the top, we could go back into all-time highs. But if we break the bottom of this range, then worry about filling this gap. GOEV. So I pulled up this chart and I just kind of left my pattern on here because I just wanted to point out how we don't always break bull from these patterns. You can see I drew this on here ages ago, back in June, looking for a breakout. The breakout never came. We broke bear from that breakout, and it was just like a steady decline ever since. Looks like we had an ER, tanked the ER, or tanked before the ER, just continued downwards. Then something happened down here, and you can see that we had a big move up. This is like a 40% move up. Now normally I'd be looking for some retracement after a move like that, but because we had so many down days before that, I don't necessarily need a retracement here because this makes our chart more healthy because we're back to the level where we were before we dumped. So basically it's like as if nothing happened. We've been going sideways since then. So now we want to look at the chart and kind of figure out where we're going to go from here. We hit an all-time low here, so I'm going to use that level to find my trend line. And it's valid at this point because we're touching more than 3 candlestick bodies. So this is the trend line I'm going to be watching, but at the same time, I want to look at today's level, which I found an existing level, 698, 692. 692 today's low. Let's see if that holds. It looks like we're going down to test that right now. That is a previous daily level. If that doesn't hold, then we are going to look at whether or not this trend line holds. If we zoom into the hourly, we can see we're not really at the trend line yet. So we're going to watch this trend line to see if we're going to bounce off this. And this will give us an idea. If we bounce off it, then we're going to be going up. You can see it looks like a little bit of an inverse head and shoulders here, so that's a possibility. So keep an eye on this trend line, and that'll give you an idea where the chart's going to go. Okay, looking at FSR, I'm not going to lie, this one is pretty tricky. I have been going through it trying to find some levels. I can't find really any daily levels at this point being like price levels. So when I can't find something like that, like I'm looking for a double bottom of support or some type of level that we want to watch, when I can't find something like that, then I want to start looking at angled trend lines. So trying to draw a trend line here. Let's go like that because we want to go through as many levels as we can. If I go like that, then basically we're looking at coming all the way back down to this 1051 level. So that gives us a big drop. So that's something that I don't think we're going to use as valid, because if we were to drop to that immediately, RSI would be completely overheated. It's already getting close to oversold on the daily time frame. So I don't like that trend line. It's just too far away. So I'm going to look for something a little closer. So basically we came down here, found an all-time low. I'm going to go to our all-time low. I'm going to go right through this dip here. We dipped through our all-time low. Trend lines don't always hold. So this trend line didn't hold, and then we came back and went right through it. And here you can see we've touched off of it, and here we've touched off of it again. So, or we didn't quite touch it here. And here it is. This is the most solid trend line I'm able to find here. It's such a young chart. The EMAs, this SMA 100 isn't even formed, but if you wanted to, if this was longer, I would say let's use this SMA 100, but it's so young, it's not valid enough. The most valid thing I can find is this trend line where I've touched on this weekly, bounced off on this weekly, and here we are touching it again. So let's watch this trend line and hope that we can bounce off of this if you're in a position. Now if we break that trend line, we can look at, I did find a level here, 1252. I found this level on the weekly. It has been previous support twice, 2 different weeks in a row. This is a weekly double bottom, so that is something that we can look for. I would have preferred if it was also resistance in the past, but because it's such a young chart, we're not always going to find that. So this level, 1252, is what you'll be looking for after, if we break this trend line. And like I said, RSI, daily RSI, by that point, will probably be oversold, and then we'll be looking for a bounce. That's it for today's ticker analysis. I have a couple more that I'm going to have to stick into the next video. If you have any tickers you want me to analyze, be sure to message me in the Discord or comment down below. If you like the video, please like it and subscribe.